I think a lot of people, when they look at secret societies, the suspicion or the dubiousness that they have towards secret societies is because of the secrecy. So I ask you, Joseph, why the secret in secret societies?
Well, that's a good question, Michael. So really what the purpose of secrecy is in any kind of institution, like let's start off with something like a board of directors, right? So a CEO sits on a board of directors. They have closed meetings, and it's for candid dialogue. All the conversations are recorded, minute meetings are taken. And really, what is the purpose of that? Well, in that setting, it's to have open and candid dialogues. But within the context of a secret society, it's actually quite something more, right? Because the whole purpose of Freemasonry, the Illuminati, many of these secret societies is to make the members of these secret organizations to help improve themselves, right? Kind of like a self-directed self-improvement process. Well, one of the means of accomplishing this improvement is through, simple but profound truths, right? So, let's take the golden rule, for example, right? If someone says to you, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, well, it sounds simple enough, but, if it's so simple but yet so effective, why isn't it being carried over and throughout society, right? Well, it's because, people get lost in the day-to-day things, right? But if you want to communicate a profound truth and have the candidate hanging on every word, you want to do it under the veil of secrecy. You want to have some kind of pageantry to it. And what it does is the actual secrecy itself gives value to it, right? And it gives value to the lesson so that the candidate hangs on every word. It makes an indelible mark in his mind. And it's, really the centerpiece of like the initiatic experience is the secrecy itself to add value, to these profound yet simple truths.
That's an excellent answer. I'm not a Freemason. I was in a college fraternity, so I've experienced one initiatory rite in my life, and I will say it was profound. And I concur with your definition on the secrecy and the need for it. So let's move to the actual Bavarian Illuminati. There's a lot of misconceptions about the word Illuminati. These days, probably the Illuminati's never been more popular than now, but that version is not the real version. So let's go all the way back and let's talk about its founder and where he was at Ingolstadt. Who was Adam Weishaupt and what was his social setting he was in the midst of?
Okay, so in Ingolstadt University, 1776, that's where Adam Weishaupt founds the Order of the Perfectibilist with 9 of his other pupils. And so what's going on in that environment is that Bavaria, let's take a look at Germany as a whole, right? Germany is not a unified empire per se, but it's a collection of states, different governing systems and all these ones. So within Bavaria proper, right, it's part of the decaying Holy Roman Empire. All the education is controlled by the Jesuit order, controlled by the Catholic Church up until about 1775 when the Pope disbands the Jesuit order. And so Adam Weishaupt is the first professor to ascend to the chair of canon law, and he's the first non-Jesuit to take this position. Well, it's very contentious, and it took him a little bit of time to actually start receiving his paychecks for this position because he was being blocked because he wasn't a Jesuit. And what he came to see the Jesuits' teaching methods as, and rightfully so at this point in time, was that it was kind of like a very dark and oppressive thing as far as not a lot of intellectual thought, not a lot of creativity, not a lot of just allowing people to research the knowledge like that and to have their own ideas and form their own opinions about it. It was centered more on rote memorization. They would even, like with popular philosophy and stuff like that, they would replace it with, like, instead of studying popular philosophy, maybe they study works on the early church fathers, this sort of thing. And so what it does is it has like a totally oppressive idea. And what they were trying to do was to limit the impact of the Enlightenment within Bavaria. So when we think of the Enlightenment, we think of the birth of reason, ration, virtue, the scientific method, democracy, all the things that we take for granted today, but wasn't exactly so back then. And so they were trying to slow the progress of the Enlightenment, the growth of the scientific method and stuff like that, because it just basically would ran counter to some of the teachings of the church, and not actually out of the Bible itself, but like some of the more of the doctrine of the Catholic Church itself.